just looking at that Vinicius Junior goal again, mate.
Worldie.
Absolute. I mean, you know, there's some players have just got that quality to do it from any distance at any time. Unfortunately, the scenes that follow.
Yeah.
Vinicius Junior actually gets booked. I don't know whether it's booked for his celebration. He's gone to. Yeah, he's saying why he got booked for his celebration. He's gone to the corner flag. He's basically done what Lee Sharp used to do. When Lee Sharp used to do his little Elvis impression in front of the corner flag, he's done something like that, and there's been something said, we think, by Prestianni.
Yeah, Prestianni, yeah.
Prestianni is, you know, and then he said something, and then...
Yeah, I mean, look...
they are, yeah. And
they're going back and forth. Obviously, the situation is, you know, they're going back to take the retake from the centre circle. Yeah. Vinicius Junior is going back and forth with Prestianni. Prestianni then puts his shirt over his mouth. Well,
Prestianni then sticks his arms out, and he doesn't know what. So,
and then Vinicius Junior then reacts. Yeah. So, look, all you know, second guessing here.
No, we are,
and we're going to speak to Kevin Hatchard about it. But it looks like a racially.
Yeah, so he said something highly offensive.
Highly offensive. Yeah. He's taken Vinicius Junior walks off the pitch.
Yeah, he does.
He walks off the pitch. The referee holds the game. Let's bring in Kevin Hatchard to have a chat about this because he was doing the commentary. All right, Kev.
Hey, Kev.
Hi, guys.
Kev, look, obviously unsavoury scenes in a big moment, in a big game. Vinicius Junior clearly upset with what went on. We didn't have the commentary, so we couldn't hear what really was going on. But Prestianni definitely said something to Vinicius Junior.
So, yeah, here are the facts as we know them. Vinicius had scored a brilliant goal, as you've quite rightly outlined. It's a world-class goal in keeping with the form he's been showing recently. Then he runs away to celebrate. The referee, Francois Letexier, didn't like an element of that celebration and therefore shows him the yellow card. As you then say, there is an exchange between Vinicius Junior and Gianluca Prestianni, who's a young player for Benfica. Vinicius Junior then responds to something that Prestianni has said to him, goes to the referee and speaks to him about it. The referee then makes the signal for UEFA's racism protocol and takes the players off the pitch. Now, the important thing here is that at this stage, that is an allegation. We don't know what was said. We don't know, you know, the facts of it at the moment. The referee will write his report, and it will go from there. But what we do know is that they went off the pitch. Vinicius Junior was clearly upset. He went to talk to Mourinho. There were all manner of arguments on the pitch. Yeah. It took around about 9-10 minutes for the players to come back on. Then Vinicius was like a man on a mission. He had about 3 or 4 efforts on goal, which true being saved. And then towards the end, it took about 1 minute, 90 seconds for Vinicius Junior and Trent to try and take a corner. And there were you know, objects being thrown from the crowd. Vinicius got hit on the arm by a full bottle of water. And in the end, the game got finished. Now, in amongst all that chaos, with around about 5 minutes of normal time to go, Jose Mourinho took exception to a challenge Vinicius Junior made on the edge of the Real Madrid penalty area on Richard Rios, and he thought he should have had a second yellow card and been sent off. He then took his protest too far. Classic Mourinho, gets a yellow card, gets another one, and then doesn't even go very far. Gets sent off, and he just walks to the seats behind the dugout, just above them. So he ended up being sent off as well. So, look, it's something UEFA have to investigate.
Yeah.
And what I really hope, just quickly on this, what I really hope is that the narrative at no stage becomes what it often does with Vinicius Junior.
Yeah.
When these incidents happen to him, and again, it's an allegation at this stage, but when it's been proven that he's been racially abused by fans away at stadiums, there is often an undercurrent. Well, he doesn't help himself. He antagonizes people. He celebrates in a certain way. It's an outrage that even gets discussed.
Yeah.
But it will by some people. And that part of it never sits well with me.
Can I ask you this, Kev? On the back of what you've just said, what did he get booked for? Because from what I've seen, I don't see a booking there.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd agree personally.
So that narrative you've just discussed
Yeah.
about he deserves it, the referee I'm not saying he's the reason, he's the catalyst for what happened after.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that booking did not, for my money, did not need to happen.
The only thing I can think, and look, Francois Le Texier's big enough to defend himself, and I'm sure he will, and I'm sure he'll explain in his report why he's done it. The only thing I think he's thinking is that Vinicius, when he scores the goal, wheels away towards that corner and has somehow, in the referee's eye, you know...
Is he not allowed to celebrate? He's on the pitch.
Well, I agree with you.
He ain't jumped in the crowd.
Preaching to the choir here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
He's
fully
on the
on
pitch
board
from
with
what I
you
can
guys.
see, over on the corner flag.
Yeah. So
Right, but
he's walked towards that. He's ran towards that corner. And there was something in that celebration the referee hasn't liked. He's felt it was antagonising the crowd, and he's shown him the yellow card. I don't agree with that. I don't think it should have been, but that's the only thing I can think.
Okay, we're all guessing a little bit. Aren't we?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it must have been. You know,
I can think of
unless
nothing else,
I can't think of anything else because it was a pretty quick yellow card. And he was you could see on the replay, he's shouting at the referee, why?
Yes,
why?
you can see the lips, yeah.
So,
yeah.
you know, he didn't understand it. I didn't understand it. You know, all I can see, I mean, they're kind of hugging in the corner. And there are things even being thrown at that stage, you know. So, look, the headline here is that we've been here before with Vinicius Jr. being racially abused. That's been proven. There have been criminal cases in Spain. This has happened numerous times. The abuse that young man, he's still young, has received is an outrage. It's an outrage.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of thing he should be protected from,
Yeah.
rather than people saying, well, you know, he doesn't help himself, etc., etc. No, it's completely the wrong balance of the argument.
Yeah, I thought it was, I have to say, Kev, I thought it was disgusting the way they got treated afterwards. You know, by the Benfica fans. You know,
Not football fans are like, you can't.
It was pretty obvious what was going on, right? It was pretty obvious.
Football fans.
Prestianni has said something to him. It's pretty obvious what road they were going down. The treatment Vinicius Jr. gets after that situation is disgusting.
Well, the other thing as well, and this wasn't near Vinicius per se, but I was talking about some of the objects being thrown. There was something one of the Real Madrid players picked up that looked enormous. It looked like a lighter or a vape or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, if that hits you,
Yeah, I know.
that's going to do some serious damage.
That's a factory,
So,
yeah.
look, this isn't a new thing. Benfica, not the only club where this has happened, but it's something that UEFA have to be very, very vigilant about and really crack down on, because if you're throwing objects at players, that is very, very dangerous. And, you know, has to be cracked down on. And UEFA, to be fair to them, have done that in certain incidents. They've forced teams to play behind closed doors and what have you. So we'll see what comes out of this. We'll see what comes out of the referee's report.
Yeah.
But what we should have been talking about was a world-class goal to decide what had been, I have to say, had been up until that, a really, really good football match.
Yeah.
It was brilliant up until that point. And it just really soured what had been a really engaging game.
All right, Kev.
Cheers, Kev.
Thanks for coming on, mate.
Cheers, gents.
All right, Kevin Hatchard there. Obviously, we're going to hear about this throughout the night. Any updates, we'll let you know. Kind of just spoils big moments, doesn't it?
Well, look,
It's horrible.
the fact that he lifts his shirt over his mouth to speak to Vinicius Jr. indicates there is something he's saying, but he reacts immediately. Look, speculation can be, you know, all we can go on is what we've seen. We actually don't know any of the facts, other than the fact the referee indicated that the game has been stopped for racial reasons. Yeah. So then we can only go back and think, well, the only reason that because Vinicius Jr. has been racially abused. That's all the evidence we got.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right.
It will come to light. I'm guessing. Well, the UEFA may have to come out with a statement in the not too distant future.
Yeah, absolutely. Not nice scenes, obviously, for Vinicius Jr. The way he gets treated in certain incidents like that is just...
And by the way, what he did is celebration. Nothing wrong with it.
No.
Absolutely nothing wrong with it.
No.
By the corner flag, celebrated. You know, and here's nothing. Why can't footballers give it to the fans? That annoys me. The footballers are so sensitive. Fans then can be so sensitive back.
Yeah.
If you've been giving him all sorts of abuse all game and he scores, why shouldn't you go to the corner flag And just, honestly, it's... Anyway, we'll find out.
Yeah, look, you can. We'll bring you more on this incident throughout the night. You can head over to talksport.com as well for more.